So we're back home now, and this is a continuation from my previous video where I went hunting for the Red Heart Granny Square yarn at Joann's. Found it at the last minute. I had actually given up looking for it because I looked up and down every aisle and didn't see it. But at the very last minute, I spotted it. They only had 4 colors to choose from, so this is the one I chose. But I also had a coupon for 40% off, so I couldn't believe it. But this yarn, I guess I saved $3.80. Regular price for one skein of Red Heart Granny Square yarn is $9.49. I have not bought yarn at the store in a very long time. Well, at a regular craft store like this. So I was a bit sticker shocked there, but I luckily had my 40% off coupon and was able to get it for $5.69. So we're gonna go ahead and try crocheting up some of these granny squares, and then we're gonna take a look at the results and I'll let you know what I think about it. So I pulled out the center of the ball, and it actually starts with the black. So that's exactly what we need for the center of the granny square. So let's get started. All right, so I haven't even gotten through the first round, and I've already run out of the black yarn. I was working on the 2 double crochets on the last cluster of double crochets, and it's already ended. So I need to frog back a little bit, tighten my gauge, I guess, and see if I can make it work. All right, so I actually had to frog back twice just to get to the exact spot that I needed for the color change. So if every row is like this, it'd be faster to just use 5 different skeins of yarn, 5 different colors, and, you know, add them in one at a time. All right, so we've come to the end of the second round, and this time I have way too much of the gray before it even starts to change colors. And I had only slightly tightened my tension because last time on the first little round, I didn't have enough of the black. So now we've got way too much of the gray. So I need to frog back a few of the double crochets and loosen my gauge now and see if I can use more of the gray before we switch colors. All right, so after frogging back twice on the second round, we got closer, but I'm really not sure what's going on with the color change because the gray ends right about here and it starts going into the yellow, which is what it's supposed to be changing into. But do you see what it does? It goes gray, yellow, black, yellow. So yeah, so far I'm not too impressed.
But I do find her absolutely fascinating, and one of the big reasons why.
All right, so I just finished the third round, and it looks like it actually came out just perfect. Whoops. It switches to this lighter gray color, and the yellow ends right there. But I did notice, if you can see that right there in the yellow, there's some other gray spots like I showed you at the very beginning of the yellow. So I'm wondering if it's supposed to have like speckled gray mixed into it, or if it's just some of the gray or black bled onto the yellow. Well, on to row 4. All right, so I have come to the end of the 4th round and I've run out of the color that I need again. It's already switched from gray to white, and I still needed to do 2 double crochets right here. So I'm going to frog back a little bit, tighten my gauge again, and see where it ends up. All right, so round 4 took 3 tries. Or would that be 4? Because I had to frog back 3 times just to get to the right spot that I needed. And I had to tighten my tension up quite a bit. So on to the last round. All right, we came to the end of the 5th round. And once again, I didn't have enough of the color I was working on. It's already changing back to the black. I thought I would actually have more of this color because it says to leave like a 4-inch tail at the end for weaving in. Like when you finish the granny square, you're supposed to cut it off, you know, end it and have like a 4-inch tail left of this color. And I still have to do 2 more double crochets right here and then slip stitch it to this chain. So once again, I'll be frogging back, tightening my gauge. I do think it's all about gauge with this, and nobody's gauge is the same, and that's why everybody is having a different outcome when they do this, because nobody's gauge is the same. All right, finally, I got the granny square completed. I had to rip back several times on the last round, and on the last frogging session, I took it all the way back because it still wasn't tight enough. I didn't have enough tension to have anything left over, but I finally managed to do it. I feel like this granny square was way more work than it should have been, and that it would have been way easier and less time consuming to just use 5 different colors of yarn and add them as I crocheted the granny square. So those are my thoughts on that. So I've started working on a second granny square, and look at the yarn. Look at the changes in the color right where it's supposed to go from one color to the next. Has anyone else noticed anything like this stuck to their yarn? I have found a couple of spots in this yarn. Yeah, I don't know what that is. It's like stuck to the yarn. So I've been picking out dirt or, oh, I don't know what that is. Leaves. It feels like dried leaves, and this is acrylic yarn, so it's not natural fibers. So I don't know what that would be. Anybody else come across anything like this in their granny square yarn? So my final thoughts. I completed 2 granny squares total, and I have to say, I really don't know if I'm going to make any more. Maybe I will, because I believe it makes up to 14 granny squares. It was either 12 or 14. I think it's actually 14. So you're supposed to be able to get 14 granny squares out of this. I've gotten 2 so far with struggles. You saw what I was showing you, but it all depends on tension, guys, and nobody's tension is the same. So it is a little bit of a struggle. I mean, I had to frog back several times on almost every round. And then I either had to loosen up or tighten up and re-crochet the stitches. Some of the rows I actually ripped back halfway or, you know, a third of the way and had to redo them 2 to 3 times. So it kind of takes the joy out of crocheting. So, I don't know. I've seen other people say that they've used this yarn for things besides granny squares. There's other things you can do with it. I'm sure it makes some pretty like self-striping, or not really self-striping, but certain patterns you can do when you're knitting with it. It'll look different if you do it in the round or back and forth. I haven't tried anything but the granny squares since that's what it was created for, and I just wanted to give it a try and see how it actually worked. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I may go ahead and do a few more of these granny squares, and if I do, I'll probably share whatever I create with it in an upcoming podcast. I may do a little sample of it with my knitting and see how it looks. But thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you again in the next video. Bye. Happy crocheting.